Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. My guest today is Allison Trucillio. She is Vice President of Medical Affairs at Avalyn Pharmaceuticals, and we talk about time management for MSLs and field medical professionals from somebody who's an elite athlete. So this is an amazing conversation. I learned so much. I can't wait to go back and listen to it again. So share it with your friends. Don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn and join us for MSL Talk Live, which is typically the first Tuesday of every month at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're also on YouTube, so check out some of our videos on YouTube. And thank you guys, as always, for all your support. Welcome to MSL Talk with Tom Caravela, a podcast specifically designed for MSLs and all things field medical. Hey, Allison, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Tom. I'm so thrilled to be here. I feel like it's been a long time coming. Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, like literally the line behind the Allison Trucillio fan club starts behind me. Okay. I'm a huge fan of this woman. Been trying to get her on this podcast for a while. We've been talking about it for a while, and here we are. So I'm literally thrilled to share this person with you because she's amazing. And this is going to be awesome. And guys, this is going to be unlike anything we've ever done because Allison is really special in so many ways. So I don't want to get too far into it. Allison, why don't you do a quick intro and just tell everybody who you are and where you're from and all the good stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Allison Trucillio. I'm a physician based in Austin, Texas. Certainly not new to industry. I've been in industry now for about 20 years, but currently I'm the Vice President of Medical Affairs at Avalyn Pharma.
Awesome. Well, and we're going to get into some stuff, but hey guys, before I get started, this episode is sponsored by Fierce Life Sciences Medical Affairs Strategic Summit. So that's Mass East. For many of you probably know what that is. Mass East is one of my favorite conferences. I've been going every year for like 15 years. It's the ultimate event for medical affairs, medical communications, and field medical leaders. It's the premier event for you to connect with medical affairs leaders across pharma for 3 days of focused learning and fun networking. Elevate your expertise at Fierce Medical Affairs Strategic Summit. This year, it is in Jersey City, New Jersey, where I live. Well, I don't live in Jersey City, but I'm in New Jersey. And that's May 6th through the 8th. Now, guys, listeners of the MSL Talk podcast can get 25% off registration by using the code MSL Talk. So there's no space, MSL TALK. This discount is valid only for professionals working in pharma, biotech, and medical device. You need to go to medaffairssummit.com and then put in that code and you'll get 25% off. So it's medaffairssummit.com. I will see you in Jersey City because I'm definitely going to be there. I want you guys all to come. All right, Allison, We decided to do this topic and we titled it Too Busy, I Just Do Not Have the Time, because so many people are really super busy. Now, the reason I wanted you to come on is because nobody's busier than you in what you take on in your life. And we're going to get into that. But let's start with, I want to hear about your new job and what's going on with you. So tell everybody a little bit about how crazy your life is and what you're up to from a professional standpoint.
Yes, there's certainly not a spare minute, I feel like, in my life these days. So I recently started with a new company, Avalyn Pharma, last October as their Vice President of Medical Affairs. We're a small but mighty and growing biopharmaceutical company. And really, I came on, they didn't have a medical affairs team. So I came on to build and lead the global medical affairs team. So currently, I've been hiring both US and global MSLs. I just finished developing our global medical affairs plan, which really includes, it's very comprehensive for those of you who may or may not be aware, but it basically includes our strategy and tactical execution for our field-based medicine team, to KOL engagement, scientific communications, publications and conference planning. We're also at Avalyn starting our phase 2B trial this year. So the medical affairs team is going to be absolutely critical in supporting the study, just in terms of developing relationships with the investigators, because we're a new company, so a lot of them don't know who we are yet. But also beyond the investigators, the study coordinators, the study teams, participating in the site initiation visits, and really just helping ensure that we're on track for enrollment. So there's really a lot going on at the company. It's very fast paced. So that's kind of the work aspect of my life. I'm also a wife. I'm a mother to a 5-year-old, Penelope, and boy, she certainly keeps me on my toes. I'm an older mother, but between work, I field travel every week almost, taking care of the family, taking to Penelope to all of our activities, and then something additional I do, training for exercise. It's very, very busy. So that's kind of what I have going on. I feel like there's just really not a spare minute in my life.
Guys, like, it's so understated what Allison just said, because she's at pretty much one of the highest levels you can possibly get at in medical affairs, if not the highest level. And then she, as she said, she's a mom, she's a wife, she has this beautiful, when I say the sweetest, cutest little girl you ever wanted to see. And she's involved in all, like, there's so much going on. But then on top of it, there's this whole other thing that to me is actually mind-boggling. Allison, can you please tell everybody what your fitness hobby is?
So, drum roll, my fitness hobby is triathlon. So, triathlon, as you may know, is a swim, bike, run. It's something I actually started in 2019, and I did it to try and be healthy for my daughter. And I wanted to set a good example. I've always been into exercise, but no background in swimming, biking, or running at all, as a lot of triathletes do. But so I mean, really, it's pretty crazy. Once I decided I was going to do it, I actually did my first indoor try while I was pregnant, fell in love with it. And then the following year, once I had my daughter, my husband and I signed up for some local races, so Olympic distance triathlons. And then we finished the year with a half Ironman. Really, the rest is history. I just fell in love with it. I got serious about it. I found out it was something I was pretty good at. I hired a coach, and I ended up qualifying for the World Championship. So as you can imagine, with a coach, being a part of a team, I have very intense training. You're training for 3 sports. You're also doing strength, mobility, and plyometric training. So every day I've got 2+ workouts a day. So, and we can get into that a little more in depth, but my life was already busy before that, but adding triathlon on, especially doing Ironman races, because this is purely endurance training and endurance racing, where you're on the course for 6 hours or up to 12 hours if you're doing a full Ironman. You got to train for that. You can't just go out there and do it. So your training's very intense during the week, and then even more so on the weekends.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me. There's so much to unpack there, because the first thing, as you're saying this, there are 2 things that in my mind don't really compute and go together, is VP of Medical Affairs and triathlons. Like, to those 2 things, like that's why I wanted to talk about, we're going to get into time management, because that's really the what this episode's about. But before we get into that, like, I just want to really express the magnitude of how crazy this is and how crazy your life must be. So can you talk? I definitely want you to talk a little bit more about, like, the magnitude of the competitions that you go in. Guys, Allison goes into these world, like, renowned competition, and, like, places like in the top, like, in her age however they categorize it, like, she literally, like, wins. Like, it's crazy the level that you're competing at. So can you talk about the types of events, and then what your training schedule is all about?
Yeah, so my sweet spot is the half Ironman distance. So for those of you who don't know, that's a 1.2-mile swim, followed by a 56-mile bike, followed by a 13.1-mile half marathon run. So that's kind of my sweet spot. And it's a very intense race, because you really are pushing, your perceived effort should be about 80% versus a full Ironman. Now, a full Ironman it's crazy. It's basically double those distances. So 2.4-mile swim, 112 miles on the bike, followed by a marathon run. So, that you have to actually lower your intensity a little bit. But so you can imagine, just to be able to show up on race day and to be able to finish one of these races, the training is very intense. Like I said, you don't just decide you're going to do one and then, train for a month. I mean, I train year round. I would say before, once I found my races for the year, probably about from the race date, 12 weeks prior is when you really start building. So, I mean, I'm talking, it's about 15 to 20 hours a week of training, can vary, but you're doing 2 workouts a day. So it might be a swim, bike one day, might be a bike run. Those are called brick workouts where you do one, followed by another immediately. So you can imagine 2 to 3 hours per day of that training. And then the weekends is really when you have to do more of the endurance training. So you can have anywhere from 2 to 4, 5, 6 hour rides followed by a 10-mile run because you just have to get your body in shape for that. So as you can imagine, it's very demanding on the schedule. And like I said, I had no background in any of these sports. Swim by far is my weakest. So I spend a lot of time in the pool. And I wake up every morning at 3 to 3:30, because that's the only time I have for myself. I absolutely can't do it during the day. And then after, the workday's done, I pick up Penelope, take her to her activity. So morning is critical for me. So I'm up early. I'm at the gym when they open at 4. If it's, if I'm swimming or if I'm biking, I'm upstairs on my bike trainer. And we can talk about time management there too, because I found some tips and tricks when I'm on the bike and on the treadmill. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't need... You have to have a true passion for something like this. But I will say that deciding to do triathlon has only made me a stronger person, better at time management, a much better employee, more organized. I think there was someone that said that, choose the goals or choose decisions that you fear, because those are the ones that are going to make you grow. And I was a little scared getting into triathlon, but it has made me so much of a better person. And I really feel like I'm more organized and I'm more together than I've ever been in my life and in my career.
That is just so amazing. And it's, I don't know how you do it. I just respect the hell out of everything you just said, because I work out every day and I feel like I work out hard, and I have a beach cruiser. Like if I go 10 miles on my beach cruiser, I'm like patting myself on the back. I'm out for like a leisurely stroll with my coffee, listening to music. Like you're literally going 56 miles. Like it's just bonkers to me. So I guess the question that I have for you is, and you just kind of explained it when you talked about some of the scheduling, but like, how do you balance all this?
Yeah, I mean, I will say it takes a very supportive family. You have to have a support system around you that buys into what you're doing, that understands that there are going to be times where you may not be around. You may not be physically present. You may be physically present, but you're just not mentally there. I mean, there are times I'm literally sitting down at night trying to play with Penelope and I'm so sore I can't get up off the floor. Or I sit on the couch and we're eating dinner or whatever and I'm falling asleep, at 8 o'clock at night. So I mean, it's having a very strong support system. It's being incredibly organized. I truly live by my calendar, and I used to not be so much like that early on in my career, especially when I was in MSL. It was like, yeah, I'd have my meetings set there, but now I literally block every single hour of my day. We have a family calendar too. So that's, I make sure everything that's on my family calendar is on my work calendar, because I do prioritize family is the most important thing to me.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to miss out on these critical years where Penelope is growing up. So I do my best. Like I said, I have a coach. And so because I travel, and there's an app, she lays all my workouts out for the week. I let her know when I'm traveling. So we kind of adjust workouts, whether it's intensity, length, what I can do. I can't swim and bike when I'm traveling. So it's usually run and strength. The other aspect I didn't mention is that when you have a coach and you're a part of a team, they are analyzing every single workout you do. So I have to go back in after every workout and I analyze my data. I look at all of my, various, paces, my heart rate, my FTP, my functional threshold power, all that stuff, put notes in for my coach, and then she comments back. So we can see that, if I'm staying on track and if we need to adjust my training. But I would just say, really, a support system, it's being very organized. It's time management is absolutely critical, and you've got to have that passion there. Like if it's something you don't love, you're not gonna make it work. So I think those are probably some of the biggest things.
Well, the passion part of it alone, I mean, think about the fact that you have no background in any of these areas. You just said, oh, I want to get in shape, so I'm going to try this thing. And then not only did you try it, but now you're competing at the highest level in this space, which is really competitive. And this is like a whole subculture that exists.
It is. It's crazy. There's a whole triathlon community. And like you said, so I mean, there's professional triathletes and elite triathletes. And, in most races, you compete with them. They start first, but then it's by age group. And I'm an older, on our team, we got hundreds of athletes now, but I'm one of the older athletes. And so I thank God for age groups, because it really, it levels the playing field. One thing I should add too, in terms of just how to balance all of this stuff, is prioritizing. You've really got to sit down and prioritize, your work, what's going on at work and what can you handle, what are the top 3 to 5 things you have to get done this day or this week. Same with your personal life. And, and same with exercise. There are times where I can't do everything I'm supposed to do on my training plan, and that's okay. I'm just a human being.
Oh, you're like a superhuman. Like, you're not just a human being. Like, anybody that's listening to this is like, yeah, I don't know if human being is really the way to describe you. But let's talk about, because I know that there's got to be some parallels, and there's some aspects, I would imagine, in triathlon that maybe carry over into your career, maybe vice versa. Can you talk about that from a performance perspective?
Yeah, I've learned so much from doing triathlon that has carried over into my work performance and just how I want to achieve success in my profession. And I kind of think in acronyms and stuff, so I kind of do this as an ABCDEF. I think first, ambition. So I obviously, within any sport that you're competing in, you've got to have that ambition. And what that means is you've got to have goals. You should be setting goals for yourself. You should be, excited about what you're doing. And, in terms of goals, I think one thing I heard was, choose your goals wisely, because, these are going to help shape you and make you grow. Your goals are going to work on you. So I think, ambition, you got to have ambition in the sport of triathlon, and that ambition, I've always had ambition in work. So I think being so ambitious in my job has carried over to triathlon and vice versa. Balance is so critical. I've learned this in triathlon, because when you're training, you can just you get so gung-ho and all you're focused on is training, and you kind of push intensity with every workout, and you forget to take breaks and rest and let your body recover, and that can lead to detrimental consequences. Same carries over into work. You've got to have that balance in work. You can't just be all work and no rest, no play. So balance is really critical, and it's carried through on both sides, both triathlon and then in my career. Consistency is another big one. And you absolutely have to have consistency in training for triathlon and endurance sports. And, you don't have to be consistently great, but you have to be great at being consistent. And so that's something that I learned really in triathlon. And because in work and in school growing up, I always, I have a type A personality. I always wanted to be perfect. I always wanted to be the best. And that's just not the case in triathlon. You're not going to be the best. There's always people that are much better than you, especially me, but, having no background and not being a pro. So I just have to, I've learned that it's all about consistency. There's going to be peaks and valleys along the way, but you're going to, gradually make improvements, and you are going to achieve success in the sport. And then same with work. You're not always going to be the top performer, the shining star, but if you're consistent, people notice that, and you will be great over time. So consistency is huge. Drive and determination, that's my D. That's just, really having that push. You've got to have that push in triathlon. There are so many mornings I wake up and I don't want to swim. I don't want to do my workout, but you don't need to feel good to get going. You need to get going to give yourself a chance at feeling good. So I would say, that really pertains here, is just continue to have determination. I do in triathlon, same with work. You've got to be driven to achieve and your goals and succeed in life. And then E for me is just that enthusiasm, that passion, that excitement. And, as being in medical affairs, being in MSL, hopefully all of us have that passion for improving patient lives and, working with physicians and clinicians and helping to educate them and bringing those insights back in. Same with the sport of triathlon. You've got to have passion about what you're doing, because if you don't, there's no reason to do the sport. You won't last. You won't make it through, because it's just so time consuming and intense. And then I think last, for F, I really feel like focus. When you're doing triathlon workouts, you have to, it's so many times I get so distracted, my mind is wandering elsewhere. I'm thinking about so many other things. But really, what triathlon has taught me is that when you're doing a workout, focus on your form, focus on your pace, focus on your heart rate. Like, to pick something to focus on, be present in that moment, and you'll get that much better, and you'll get so much more out of that workout. The same goes through work. Sometimes we were on these virtual meetings, people are multitasking, checking emails, responding, but, be present in the moment, give it your all. And then, people, first of all, your colleagues are going to appreciate that, but you're going to get so much more, you're going to be so much more efficient in your productivity and what you're, trying to accomplish work-wise. So hope that answered the question.
I got to tell you, like, I literally want to hit rewind. Like, I me personally want to go back, and I absolutely will, and listen to that again, because I feel like I'm talking to like an Olympic athlete, and I am talking to a top-notch athlete, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but I just listening to what you just said is so next level. And I feel like there's so many takeaways in what you just said, in just the amount of passion and details and how organized you are. And there's no going through the motions at all. This is an all-in sort of thing. Otherwise, you just won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
The thing that becomes tricky is that triathlon's one thing, but in our day jobs, we have to hold ourselves accountable, because we can go through the motions and get away with it. We can hide behind our desks sometimes.
Yeah.
And who's there to tell us otherwise? Now, a lot of times there are accountability partners and managers and coworkers or whatever. Sometimes there's a lot of things that we know we can get away with.
Yeah.
So, and I want to unpack that for a second, because you are a self-motivated person. Clearly, everything you just said just oozes self-motivation. So how much has your coach helped you to keep you accountable? And how much is it like, Tom, I just have to do this myself, with or without a coach? It's my conscience yelling at me every day, making me get up, forcing me to do things.
Yeah, I would say I've always held myself accountable for getting in some sort of exercise every day. So prior to triathlon, I tried, and I mean, I was not nearly as stringent and regimented. So to answer your question, I'd say now, doing triathlon, having a coach, it's probably 50-50. I am very self-motivated regardless. I'm getting up and I'm doing some sort of a workout, but knowing that someone is first of all, I'm paying for a coach. So I don't want to waste the money.
There's that.
There's that, and that's not cheap. But the second component is she spends her time with me. She's a professional triathlete herself, but she spends her time with me laying out my workouts, reading my notes. So, and she's seeing, she's seeing if I accomplished every day. She's seeing if I, just kind of measures it on an app. Like, did you fully accomplish your workout? Did you partially? Did you not do it at all? So I know she's going to look at that. And I also know she's going to look at my notes, and she's going to see, how I felt during the workout, was it a success? What went wrong? So that really holds my feet to the fire. Whereas before, if I was kind of like, well, I'm going in, I'll do a 2-hour ride. I'm not feeling it. So maybe I'll just do like an hour or 30 minutes today. That doesn't happen with a coach. Like unless you're sick or you really, have a good excuse. She holds me accountable. So yeah, I think it's kind of 50-50, which I think we also, if you think about work too, I think some of the best managers I've had were not micromanagers, but they were ones who checked in with me. And, how can I, they would ask me, how can I help you? What's going on? Where are you struggling? What's been successful for you this week? So, those where I was having that frequent communication and it really kind of holds you more accountable as well. And when you're accountable to your team, when you're on your team calls and y'all are sharing best practices or struggles, I mean, I think that kind of plays a part in accountability in the workplace.
Yep. Let's talk about, I want to get back to some of, because I know you have a ton of tips and practical advice. So can you share some like scheduling tips and some scheduling hacks and how you're able to navigate your calendar? Because you talked about the calendar before.
Yes. Okay. So for sure, I mean, for me, everything goes on the calendar now. I literally wish I would have done this 20 years earlier when I started my career in the pharmaceutical industry. Like I said, I coordinate my calendar with the family calendar, and I literally block off. I mean, I will block off every hour of the day. If I don't have meetings, I'll block that time for work. Or if I have a chance to get away at lunch and do a quick run, I'll block that. If Penelope's going on a field trip, like she is tomorrow, that's blocked off. So I cannot stress to people enough, if you don't really use your calendar, it's a great way to be more efficient. It's a great way to see where you're spending your time, where you have free time potentially, and then also, are you wasting time? Are there spots during the day where really you could be doing something? So I think that to me is so important. Another big one is, and I wish I would have known this too when I started as an MSL, I work wherever I can. Yesterday I was in LA. I'm in my Uber. I am doing my expense report. I'm taking pictures of my receipts. At the airport, I'm in the club. I am literally, if it's not an expense report, I'm going through emails. I'm reading protocols. I mean, doing whatever I can. Same with the airplane. Now, granted, we need our downtime, and it's fun every once in a while to just kind of relax, shut off, and you need that. You need that mental break. I even work while I'm exercising, so I've got a setup with my bike trainer upstairs where I have my actual like tri bike. You remove a wheel, you put it on a trainer, and then I have a desk that's made for this bike trainer. I have my laptop on it. And so when I'm up early in the morning, that's actually when I get my best work done. I'm going through emails, I'm reviewing PowerPoint decks, creating PowerPoint decks. I mean, there's so much you can do. If I'm swimming or let's say running, I'm thinking about, okay, what's in store for me today? Maybe I have an upcoming meeting and I'm trying to just kind of organize my thoughts. If I'm on the treadmill, I start, because when it's cold, sometimes I don't like to run outside. I bring my iPad. I'll watch, sometimes I'll watch educational webinars just to learn more about the disease state, or, conference sessions, podcasts. There's a really good podcast called the MSL Talk that I listen to too. And then driving is another thing too. Like, just get your mind organized. You can also listen to podcasts there, but so I cannot stress that enough. Really making the most of your time, because as an MSL, you are traveling quite a bit. So why not maximize that time? I mean, like I said, I think Uber, airports, airplanes is the big thing. So also I'd say as an MSL, you are the CEO of your own territory or region. And when you're setting up your KOL meetings, pick a city or state where you can be for 2 to 3 days. Obviously you want to try to book as many appointments as possible. Some of them might get canceled, but I give my KOLs a few different options. I say, okay, I'm going to be just thinking, I'm going to plan out the month of March. I'm going to, this week I'm going to be in this city, the next week, another city. Then I'll reach out to those KOLs and I give them times and days that kind of work for me. And usually, you can find something that'll accommodate them. Another thing, tips and tricks, I would say is I kind of set time limits and alarms too. So if I'm working on something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this 30 minutes. I'm going to really focus, and I'll set my timer for 30 minutes and work for that amount of time. And then the alarm goes off and then I'm done. I have to stop, because sometimes I feel like you can just go on and just, you end up wasting time and you're not efficient. So that's important. Always allow for breaks too. I have been more recently trying to schedule more meetings to be 45 minutes so that people actually get a 15-minute break. But it's important to schedule breaks, throughout your day. Your brain needs to step away. You need to step away from your computer, or just kind of need that mental refresh. So, and then I think just another one too, we talked about this, leveraging your support system, communicating with your family, making sure, my husband travels too, so we really have to plan. And then another big one is learn best practices from others, learn from your peers. On my team calls, I like to have times where we talk about like, hey, what went well this week? What's a best practice for how to handle this? And so we can all learn from each other and just make us stronger individuals.
I love it, man. That's such great advice. And I think that I think everything that you just said, like the whole idea of just really working constantly
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a grind where it's like, oh my God, I don't get a chance to, because you just said, factor in breaks, but
Yeah.
make the best use of your time. Don't just think, well, I'm in an Uber or I'm on a plane. Like that's such valuable time that you can either catch up or get ahead. It almost like for somebody as busy as you is there's just no excuse when you hear that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about real quick, like what are some of the biggest like time killers that MSLs just kind of fall into?
You know, honestly, I mean, for me, one of the big ones is the expense reports. We're getting back to it now. It's, not so much virtual where we're all out in the field. And, when you're traveling on a regular basis, your expense reports start adding up, the number of receipts you have. And in the past, I'd always just kind of put my receipts aside and like save until the end of the week or sometimes the end of the month. That is such a time suck. When you wait to do an expense report, it's amazing how much longer it takes to complete. That's why now, like, I really feel like I feel like I've mastered expense reports now. And we don't even have Concur at my new company. So we're doing this all kind of manual on a spreadsheet, but I'm with Concur. I mean, that makes it so simple, or any other expense app. But I think I've seen it and I've heard it from other MSLs. That can be a big time suck, especially if you delay and you prolong doing them, getting your receipts, you got to take pictures, all that good stuff. So, and I think just too, I kind of touched on this. I feel like there's a lot of free time when we're traveling, and, whether it's, at the airport, while you're on the plane, in the Uber, even at conferences, at medical conferences. It's not like you're in back-to-back scientific sessions every, from 8 to 5. You pick the ones that are relevant, you go to those. You go to, the poster sessions when, the posters that you're interested in are being presented. Maybe you have some KOL meetings in there, but there's also a lot of downtime at conferences. So what I've always done is, like, we have a template that we use to produce the executive summary. So I'm already starting to write up my sessions and write up insights from my KOL meetings and, write up the posters so that when we actually have to sit down after the conference and put it all together, because those documents can be a beast to create, depending on how extensive your executive summary is and how large the conference is. But just being efficient with stuff like that, I think that's good. I don't know, a lot of MSL teams use some sort of a, platform or CRM for capturing, interactions with your KOLs along with insights. Sometimes, like, I used to wait to do that until, like the end of the week or when I was back in my office. And it's, first of all, it's not fresh in your mind anymore. Then it's a kind of a whole process to, log in, and you're kind of, doing it all from scratch. But, what I found I was doing is when I had, KOL meetings booked, I'd have the meeting, and then right afterwards, I just kind of step aside, log into my Viva CRM and enter that interaction and, capture my insights. And so fresh in mind, it's done right away, and I don't have to worry about it later. So I think those are kind of time killers, but then also tricks of how you can overcome them.
Allison, you're like superwoman. You're inhuman, and I got so much out of this. So I just want to thank you personally for coming on. And it's just, this knowledge just flows so freely from you. You really are amazing. And I'm so grateful for you as a friend and colleague. And thank you I'm glad we finally did this.
Me too.
And that I got to kind of share you and how awesome you are with everyone. So guys, I encourage you to share this with others because there's so much really good information in here. I know that I'm going to listen to this again, but Allison, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom. And also thank you so much for all you do for the MSL community. You're incredible. If you haven't had a chance to work with Tom, he is the best recruiter, he and his team. And so I've learned so much from your podcast. I listen to them, and there are pearls in every single one of them. And I jot them down, and I feel like it's made me a better medical affairs leader. So thank you, Tom, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're the best. I appreciate you. And guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the show, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And if you enjoyed it, Please subscribe so that you don't miss an episode in the future, and feel free to leave a rating or a review or a comment. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.